The concept behind Rival Megagun is simple, but wicked cool. Take that classic shmup gameplay you know and love and turn it into a head-to-head competitive spectacle. It takes 2 hits to go down, and you keep fighting until someone finally drops. It could take 20 seconds, it could take 10 minutes, but no matter what, 2 spaceships enter, and only one is leaving. As always, I'm Alex, and this is First 5, where I ask if games are worth your time, not your money. I played a game for 5 hours, and I'm gonna tell you if those were 5 hours well spent. And today,
it's time for Rival Megagun!
Rival Megagun is competitive in the same way that something like multiplayer Tetris is. Both players are separated onto relatively identical boards, and you're trying to out-survive your opponent while building up combos to dump onto their board and make their life a living hell. And the dynamics of doing so are really well done. As you blow up enemy ships, you build a combo that adds extra ships to your opponent's board, while also building up meter that you can use for special attacks. But if you take a hit while still mid-combo, you lose it all, forcing a risk-reward dynamic into the game. Do you try and survive for 3 or 4 seconds against the next wave of enemies to bank your current meter and ships, or do you try to build it up even more? Similarly, you have to find openings to use that meter. You can burn a little bit of it to make a special attack on your opponent, either firing missiles at them, or laying mines, or summoning laser beams, but you have to charge it for a few seconds, during which you're defenseless yourself. There's a fine art to using a special ability at the right moment while your opponent is already being pressured by a horde of enemies without getting blown up yourself. And there's an even finer art to doing it at the end of a 20-hit combo to time it with the ships you just spawned on their side. And then once you top off your meter, things hit maximum hype as you get to ascend to your boss form, fly over to your opponent's screen, and give them what for personally. Instead of having bosses like a traditional shmup, one of Rival Megagun's coolest twists is that your opponent's final form is the boss, complete with its own unique moveset to try and decimate you with, and it's usually a damn tough fight. To top it off, the game gives you 7 different characters, each with their own unique bullet pattern, special ability, and boss form. Each character is pretty colorful and unique in personality as well, from a friend bot turned accidental murder machine to a supervillain tired of being upstaged by a galactic threat interrupting his plans for world domination. Rival Megagun doesn't ever get the opportunity to flesh out its characters beyond a few basic tropes, but some of them are at least quirky, colorful ones. Unfortunately, despite the name, you won't actually find many rivals to butt heads with. Anytime I tried, I could only ever find a single other person in queue, and after you get bored of fighting each other, you might as well close the game for a few hours and go do something else. There's also the compounding issue of an invisible system of unlockables that can completely change a player's playstyle, leaving the game's few dedicated regulars with significantly more options and sometimes just flat stat boosts over curious first-timers. I've seen players do everything from overcharge their meter to fire and charge a special ability at the same time, neither of which are normally possible, but I haven't the faintest idea how to unlock the equipment to do the same. All in all, even if the core idea is extremely fun, multiplayer is extraordinarily difficult to just jump into and start having fun with unless you've got a similarly inexperienced buddy in tow. Luckily, all that arcade mode you're going to have to play to unlock everything is actually a joy to play through. Rival Megagun didn't skimp on this side of the equation. 6 unique stages fill out a complete campaign with enough legs to stand entirely on its own, and each character is different enough to warrant repeat playthroughs. And the difficulty options are also worth exploring, not just upping the opposing AI's ability or the number of spawns to contend with, but also introducing all new attack patterns for familiar foes. Minor annoyances on lesser difficulties become major threats on higher ones. And on the hardest difficulty, every match even starts with your opponent already busting out their boss form. Suffice to say, the single player's got a ton of replayability. So what do you get out of 5 hours with Rival Megagun? In 5 hours, I think I've beaten the arcade mode a half dozen times, managed to bash my way through each difficulty, and even managed to finally figure out how to get the true ending. But even so, I still don't feel like I'm done with this game yet. I'm absolutely loving the single-player side of this game. On the other hand, the game's intended form of play, multiplayer, is a much harder sell. This is very much a game that wants you to pay your dues before you can even try to compete. That's already a tough sell if you just wanted to have a few hours of fun, but even if you do pay your dues, there's not much of a community to reward you for your efforts. And that's a shame, because Rival Megagun is so close to being the head-to-head shmup it wants to be, but it still has those few hurdles to overcome. But for a multiplayer-centric game, its arcade mode is also astonishingly good. Normally, one would expect the single-player mode to be an afterthought in a game like this, but far from it, it's enough to make an entertaining game all on its own. If you're a shmup fan, you may well want to give it a shot for the arcade mode alone, and if you happen to find some fun in the multiplayer, that's just a nice bonus. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this first 5 review. If you did, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. If you're looking for games that value your time and don't pad themselves, I'm your guy. And be sure to check out some of my other reviews or some longer form content while you're here. But regardless, thanks for watching this far, and I'll see you all next week.